Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're getting a little V12 drive therapy. This is a 2005 Aston Martin DB9 Volante. It makes 450 horsepower from its front-mounted V12 naturally aspirated, of course, sending all the power to the rear wheels via a 6-speed ZF, however you'd like to say it, automatic gearbox, which is actually a good thing. Yes, they did make 6-speed manuals, and those are a better thing. However, this is a regular torque converter automatic, so you're not dealing with that sort of single clutch nonsense that we would have seen in VH platform Vantages. So this is actually a really good cruiser to blast around in, and it makes a phenomenal GT car. This being a very early DB9 is now an incredible depreciated bargain, because back in 2005, this starting MSRP for a Volante would have been over $170,000. Now, you could have these on Bring a Trailer or your local dealer for somewhere around $40,000 to $60,000, depending on miles and condition. Think about that. $170,000 in 2005 money is a lot, and now you can essentially have your classy supercar. And the best thing is that these VH platform Aston Martins still look modern enough that you're not driving around in some old jalopy. Now, that's kind of the issue when it comes to DB7. DB7s can be had for under $30,000 in certain cases, and I think that a good DB7 is a fun thing to operate and play with, but it still doesn't necessarily have the cachet of the look of this. Now, of course, we're gonna get lucky with all kinds of construction and ground screws behind me, but we will be treated with the sweet song of this 5.9 liter V12 in just a minute. Let me take you for a little walk around. First of all, silver always looks really classy on these cars, and this has the iron ore red leather, which looks fantastic. I do think the name is a little funny because iron ore red essentially means rust. So this is kind of a rusty color, but actually it has sort of a mauve. There's almost like, I don't know, my eyes might deceive me, but it feels like there's almost a little purple in it. I love it. The rear seats, essentially useless. This is very impractical for anybody with any type of normal corporeal being. This is hard to sit in. And this being these early cars, it doesn't have the button on the side of the seat to push that forward. So you'd actually have to reach down and play a big game to get back here. Not my favorite. One thing that is my favorite about this car is it doesn't have the infotainment screen. This is old school. This is just this, which means this doesn't flip up. It doesn't have the square cutout, and this waterfall of wood looks fantastic. This is classy, and I still think that this is the best, by far, best modern Aston Martin dashboard, because I'm so sick of screens and having the anti-clockwise tachometer to match and kind of meet in the middle with the top speed at redline is maybe one of the coolest, classiest designs. It just looks fantastic. Let me show you under the hood. Can you believe it? Can you believe the jackhammer right now? I love it. I love it. Okay, under this very long bonnet is our V12. Now, you can make fun of this all you want and say, hey, it's two V6 Mondeo engines welded together. Whatever. It's a V12. It pulls from down low. It has a phenomenal character, and I really like it. It doesn't have a screaming Ferrari or Lamborghini sort of top end, but it definitely has a unique sound all its own. Down here, this is one of the older badges. So yes, Aston Martin, hand-built in England, final inspection by Andrew Goh. That's not unusual, but down here on the early cars, they had email addresses. So you would say db9@astonmartin.com and engines@astonmartin.com. I think that is wild. So then I guess if you were really mad or really happy, you would just email the guy. His name is on it. It's kind of funny. So anyway, I like that touch with the email addresses. They must have done away with that after some angry emails, or they just decided it didn't look all that good to have it. Around back, classy. This thing is simple in terms of style. It's sleek, it doesn't do too much, and I think that's why it's timeless. And then, back here, not a huge boot space. You've got to have room for that roof. Being a Volante model, in this bag is our windscreen. We're not going to put it in today because I just feel like feeling the wind in my hair. Anyway, it does a pretty good job of keeping the wind subtle if you've got someone in your life with long hair who just doesn't want to deal with the frayed nightmare that will occur when they arrive at their destination. But right now, I would like to get in and drive this thing. So we've got our key and ignition over here. We turn the key, and then this, when your foot is, I guess when your foot is off the brake too. Does not require foot on brake. I am learning to this day, still learning. In the other cars, you do need your foot on the brake just to tell it, but apparently that was not an interlock in 2005. I wonder if later models did that. Now we're just getting into real nitty gritty. We've got a flyaway handbrake down here, which means that it is always in the down position, but to release it, you pull up, hit the button, release, the little light goes out, everybody's happy. Got these swan doors here, which allow us to avoid slamming into curbs when we park next to things in the city. Always nice, but something that often needs to be replaced are the little struts that allow this magic to happen. This one is working quite nicely. Take it and drive. A very familiar gearbox situation on these because they still use this today in modern Aston Martins. So, hey, that stood the test of time. Let's get out of here. Setting off, that throttle is pretty touchy, and I gotta say, two things, that low end just off of idle under load sound, plus couple that with the sensitive throttle, it reminds me a lot of a GM 3800 V6. Oh, hello, we found an FF. How did I miss that? I was not expecting a V12 to be following me out of the car park. Let's see, maybe we'll get a little exhaust sound from him on the way out. Let's see. Let's see if he'll light up the V12 in that FF. What a gentleman. All right, off we go. Long gearing. And we do have paddle shifters, although, you know, it's not lightning fast. The 8 speeds that came later in Aston Martins, I think, are a lot more charming to drive. They feel more modern, but these 6 speeds aren't bad. Only when driven back to back do you really start to feel like the 8 speed is a big deal. You get the sensation this thing just wants to run. But what I love about these VH platform cars is they're compliant, meaning there's a little bit of body roll. You can hit some bumps, not feel like you're gonna shatter the car, but you can also pitch it into a corner and it behaves pretty nicely. What a lazy downshift to first gear, but that's what it is. And you honestly, you wouldn't do it. I'm doing it right now just for the theater of it, but you'd leave it in drive. the top down, you really get the full experience of it all. It's funny though, there's no red line on the tachometer, so you're kind of making some assumptions, and you also have to be preemptively striking that paddle to hit that upshift properly. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of hit that rev limiter and bog you down. So back to drive for me. This is where it feels like it belongs. Got the earmuffs on for some wind noise to try to relax it a little bit so you're not just listening to horrible air moving over microphones. But you get the sensation that you want to do a top-down fall cruise up to northern New England and really enjoy yourself for miles and miles and miles at triple-digit speeds, because it'll do it. The brakes, you got to dig in a little bit. They're pretty effective, but oof, like that initial bite, there's not a whole lot there. And the transmission tuning always keeps it so down low. It's a merge monster. There's loads of torque, sure. 450 horsepower in a car that would cost over $200,000 today sounds a little low, but it scoots. It's got all this nice low down torque, so whenever you need it, you ask for it. And because it's not turbocharged, it's just on tap the second that throttle cracks open. You're not waiting for it. Couple that with this top-down experience, because I have no blind spots, and we're ready to roll. Huge win for these cars in 2024 is that they have tactility. I love the steering feel. The steering wheel is the perfect size. There's no buttons on it, just a horn, and I actually know what's going on in the road. Steering's become really sanitized over the years to the point where, like, many are just too vague. You almost can't feel anything, and it's a bummer. Or they're just too light. That's a disappointment as well. The same goes for just the overall feel of the car. It drives like a car. It's not trying to be this super soft Bentley and also a track star at the same time. It found its happy medium. It has an identity. It's a GT car that can be flogged on occasion when required. But it lives in the low and mid-range in the engine. The transmission's not going to rip off DCT fast shifts or anything like that either, which makes the driving experience more luxurious. So yeah, this is a luxury GT. Sports car, I don't know, maybe. Supercar, certainly supercar prices, but it has a lot of cachet. What this DB9 has going for it right now is its timeless style, a well-upholstered, high-quality interior, as long as it was taken care of. You can find some ratty ones, you can find cracked wood, you can find things that don't work, but if you get one that has been reasonably maintained, you're going to be in okay shape. And then you're going to pay almost nothing for it relative to its MSRP. And if you were already looking for a car in the $50,000 range, you get yourself a really nice DB9. I mean, think about that. You could be driving an Aston Martin. Decent turning radius, but no go for this particular situation. Got a little wheel spin on the leaves. For me, the DB9 reflects an era of revival. Aston Martin was kind of coming out of the trenches, and this platform changed the game. It made them opulent and legitimate again. DB7's a great car, don't get me wrong, but it's a parts bin car. This is an Aston Martin, and they needed that. Even today, Aston Martin can be in the trenches. Sure, the new Vanquish is a beautiful thing. I'm excited about it, but it's just redone. DB11, DB12, they're just rehashing what they've already got and making the most of what they can rather than building from the ground up, because the company is occasionally in dire straits financially. But these VH platform cars, maybe it's just because of when I was born and what I saw on the road, but these are the ones that I identify as Aston Martin. So when I think of Aston Martin, I think of old Aston Martin, DB4, DB5, then I think of these. Kind of everything in between, a little muddled, and everything after, a little muddled. But the best thing about these cars, too, is obviously you get them at a bargain, but they're kind of worth what they're worth. You know, I can't imagine these going much lower, and they drive like a good $40,000, $50,000 car. So you're getting what you're paying for, and you get the cachet of having an Aston. So that's going to do it for me in the early 2005 Aston Martin DB9. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and always keep your eye out for what's depreciated. Sometimes you forget, hey man, I actually wanted one of those back in the day, but I didn't have 200 G's to do it, or I was 11 years old. Well, today, you might be able to get your hands on a V12 for an affordable price that fits within the budget of your second, third, fourth car added to the collection. Maybe this is one of those things you want to have as your little summer runabout with the top down. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.